Problem 20. The expression 5 to the minus 8 times 7 to the minus 9 is equal to which of the following? And here we see a bunch of answers. Let's see, where they have a 35 there. So I suspect that they want to have us somehow multiply the 5 times the 7. So let me write this in terms that I have an easier time understanding it. So 5 to the minus 8 times 7 to the minus 9. That's the same thing as 1 over 5 to the 8th times 1 over 7 to the 9. The negative in the exponent just means 1 over the base to the positive exponent. That's all the negative means. That's equal to 1 over 5 to the 8 times 7 to the 9. And that's not one of our answers. Somehow we have to multiply the 5 and the 7. And the way we can do that is by having the same exponent. So let me rewrite 7 to the 9. I can rewrite that as 7 to the 8th power times 7. So then our whole expression becomes 1 over 5 to the 8th times 7 to the 8th times 7. Right? I just rewrote this. I rewrote 7 to the 9th as 7 to the 8th times 7. But now if I group this, just put parentheses around it, I can do that because multiplication is associative. It doesn't matter what order I do it. This is the same thing as 5 times 7 to the 8th power. Right? A to the x times b to the x is the same thing as ab to the x. So this is the same thing as 5 times 7 to the 8th power. So this is equal to 1 over 5 times 7 to the 8th power is 35 to the 8th power times 7. This piece right here is 35 to the 8th power, and then you have your 7. And then that is choice B right there. They just switched the order of the 7 and the 35 to the 8th power. 21. Use the diagram below to answer the question that follows. Okay, they just have numbers listed in order, and they have 5 per row. Which of the following algebraic equations could best be used to explain why, for any 3 by 3 cross, so it's 3 by 3 cross, like the one shown above, the sum of the numbers in the vertical rectangle, so this is the vertical rectangle right there, is equal to the sum of the numbers in the horizontal rectangle. So the horizontal rectangle is that right there. So let's look at this a little bit. What's the sum in the vertical rectangle? If we call this number x, let me just draw it generally. Let me draw as best I can. If that middle entry is x, what's the entry right above that? Well, no matter where you go, it's going to be 5 less. And that's because we have 5 per row, right? 14 minus 5 is 9. 12 minus 5 is 7. 8 minus 5 is 3. So this is going to be x minus 5. By the same logic, if you go down a row, you're adding 5. 14 plus 5 is 19. 15 plus 5 is 20. So this is going to be x plus 5. So the sum of the entries in the vertical column, right, the sum of the numbers in the vertical rectangle are x minus 5 plus x plus x plus 5. So that's the sum in the vertical column. And then in the horizontal column, if this is x, what's this going to be? Well, it's just 1 below that. It's x minus 1. And then to the right of it is just x plus 1. So the sum in the horizontal column is going to be x minus 1 plus x plus x plus 1. Plus x plus 1. And let's see if any of these choices look like what I just wrote down. A bunch of 9s, maybe, so that simplifies 9s. And here you go. This looks very similar. Actually, this is exactly what I wrote up here if you just switch the left and the right-hand side. And you can do that because it's equality. They wrote this here, and they wrote this here. So this is what I could use to prove that the sum of the vertical rectangle is equal to the sum of the horizontal. If I wanted to keep going, you'd notice that these 5s would cancel out, these 1s would cancel out, you'd get 3x is equal to 3x, and that would complete your proof. Next problem. A landscaper bought some decorative cement blocks from a landscaping store. The supplier charged 5% sales tax, and the total came to $315. All right, $315 after 5%. Without the tax, the landscaper could have bought 6 more blocks for the same total cost. How many blocks did the landscaper buy? All right, if P represents the price of one block, okay, P is the price of one block, in which of the following equations does X represent the answer to the problem above. Remember, the answer to the problem above is how many blocks did the landscaper buy. So x equals blocks. X is equal to blocks bought. Now, this first equation says that after paying 5% sales tax, so before tax, he bought X blocks. He paid P for each of those blocks. That's what they tell us right here. So this is the pre-tax price. P per blocks times X blocks is how much he pays, but then he has to pay sales tax on that. He has to pay 5% of that. On top of that is sales tax. So plus 0.05, that's the same thing as 5%, times whatever the pre-tax value is. And that's going to be equal to $315. 315. And then this, we could just add the coefficients. This is a 1 out here, right? 1 plus 0.05 is 1.05 times price times quantity is equal to 315. And let's see if we have anything like that over here in our answers. Which equation does x represent the answer to the problem above? See, 0.95 px. No, price, you bought 6 more without the tax. So another way you could think about it, if you didn't have tax, $315 would have been the price without tax. So let's see if that simplifies, because I don't see exactly what I wrote here from that first equation. So without the tax, he could have bought x plus 6 if there was no tax. And so then the total, so he would have bought x plus 6 for p per block, and then that is going to be equal to 315. This is a situation with no tax. If there was no tax for $315, he could have bought 6 more than he originally bought. So this is what the second, let me graph it. Without the tax, so this first equation came from the first sentence. The second equation comes from this red sentence right here. Comes from this one right here. And let's see if we see this anywhere. P times x plus 6 is equal to 315. I don't see that anywhere here. But we can do something interesting. We can use all of the information from the problem. Remember, the first problem it said the supplier charged 5% sales tax and the total came to 315. That gave us this equation right here. The second one said without the tax for $315, he could have bought 6 more blocks. So we get this one right here. Notice both of these equations equal 315. So we could set this equal to that. So we could say P times x plus 6 is equal to 1.05 times price times x. And let's see if that looks like anything we have here. So we have, let's see, P times x plus 6 is equal to 1.05 px. So the answer is C. Right there. We're just saying both of these things equal 315, so we set them equal to each other. Problem 23. A store that sells handcrafted items. Let me pick a nice highlighting color. A store that sells handcrafted items takes $3 per item plus 40% of the sale price for each item sold. Okay. The rest of the money takes $3 per item plus 40% of the sale price for each item sold. The rest of the money from the item sales goes to the craft person. That's nice of them. All items sold cost $5 or more. Okay. If P represents the sale price of one item, which of the following expressions represents the amount of money the craftsperson gets for each item sold? So, you start off with P. That's how much the customer gives. And then the store takes $3. So it takes $3. So P minus 3. Plus 40% of the sale price. So not 40% of after the $3. It says plus 40% of the sales price. So the store is going to take another 40%, right? 0.4 or 0.40 times the sales price. So the store takes $3 and then 40% of the sales price, and this is what the craftsperson gets. So this is what, this is our answer. This is what the craftsperson gets. So what is this? This is P, let me switch colors. P minus 0.4p is 0.6p, and then you have the minus 3. That's what the craftsperson gets. And if you look here, you don't see that answer. They wrote it all as fractions. 0.6 is the same thing as 6/10 p minus 3. 6/10 is the same thing as 3/5 p minus 3. So it's 3/5 p minus 3. Choice D.